to Hope for Anxiety and OCD, episode 125. I am your host, Carrie Bock, licensed professional counselor in Tennessee. So glad that you're here. Just want to remind everybody we have some exciting news. We have some revamping of the podcast that's going to be happening this summer, and hopefully we will have some new artwork, a new website, a new name. For all more information about that, make sure to hop on our email list so that you can be an insider and be the first to know. It is hopeforanxietyandocd.com/free. Will get you any of those free resources and to be able to be put on our email list. This episode is for some of you that really struggle with your relationship with Googling. Maybe you are Googling what you feel like is everything, or you're spending hours and hours reading articles, hours and hours researching things on YouTube. If you haven't figured this out, this is not incredibly healthy for you or your mental health. It's okay to research things in moderation. It's okay to look into things, but there is a point where it becomes unhealthy and creates more and more anxiety. Googling is a common OCD obsession that I see in clients that I work with. And when I first started working with OCD, it was one of the red flags of maybe this person needs some more assessment if they are Googling all of the time. Maybe we need to start assessing them for OCD. Googling is a way that people seek reassurance. You may have heard of reassurance seeking in OCD, where you're asking someone, like in a relationship, hey, are we okay right now? You're asking your boss, am I doing everything the way you want me to? You're asking doctors, like, am I going to be okay? Like, are you sure that I'm going to be all right? And Googling is a way that we've done to self-reassure, to find out from some article, expert, video that everything is going to be all right, or we're finding for or against what we think is okay. Here's a truth that we can sit with. It is very, very rare that we need to have a solution right now that we would need to Google. So maybe there is a solution right now, like in an emergency situation where we might need to call 911, we might need to tell someone to stop doing something, we might need to, walk away from a situation. None of those involve Googling. A lot of times the things that you're searching for are things that are hard to know right now. In this present moment, or you're trying to find certainty about a specific situation that you're dealing with instead of sitting with maybe the answers to your specific situation are not on the internet. You're trying to find other people who have been through similar experiences. I have done my fair share of Googling, especially when it comes to medical experiences. I did a lot of Googling when I was pregnant with my daughter. I had some various complications. I wanted to know, was she going to be okay? Was I going to be okay? Ultimately, that Googling gave me some information, but it really didn't give me certainty. So that's what you're wanting to know is, can Googling actually give you certainty? No, it can't. It can give you more information, but can it tell you what's going to happen 100% of the time? No. And so as you're learning through this process of dealing with OCD, part of that is learning to know, hey, I don't have 100% certainty what's going to happen in my experience. I didn't know what it was going to be like to give birth to my daughter. Even though that was my, first and only child, other people have had vastly different birth experiences, even who have had multiple children. So just because you've had a child before, that doesn't mean it's going to go exactly the same as it did the last time. Googling about it can give you some broad strokes, some general ideas, but it's not going to tell you the specifics of your situation. You're wanting to know, what is it that I actually need? And can Google actually provide that? Most of the time, the answer is no. You may, if you do need some legitimate information, but you are struggling because you know that you're going to spend 2 hours on it, it may be something where you ask someone else to get you like 1 or 2 articles to read that are informative, that are from a healthy, good source, not just something that someone obscurely wrote that's about, 2 pages down the search engine. A reputable source where you can gain that information without feeling overwhelmed by all of the information that is out there. Typically, we do not have to consume as much information as we believe that we need to consume. You do not have to look at all different sides or angles or videos. You can just glean some information from 1 or 2 things and then allow that to be the information gathering and moving on. So you would want to examine, if you were going to Google, you would want to examine for yourself, what is it that I am needing to know? So that's one thing. What am I actually needing to know? What am I hoping to gain from this? If I'm really Googling just to reassure myself or just to get some sense of like obscure certainty that's out there, then you need to put the phone down, put the mouse down, walk away from the computer or phone and say, okay, like I'm going to be okay even if I don't get this certainty right now. I have to sit with some of the unknowns that are in my present experience about the future. Typically, it's almost like we're trying to get Google to help us figure out the future and be able to have some false sense of control. I think that's what OCD is trying to tell you that you can have. You can have some false sense of control if you just get a little bit more information about this. Maybe you'll understand it. Maybe you'll be more confident in your decision making. Maybe you'll know what to do. There may be times where you gather all the information and you don't know what the right decision is exactly. I had to make a hard decision about whether or not to be induced with my daughter, and that was tough for me because I didn't want to. So, looking at all the information and then being able to say, okay, well, at some level, I have to make a decision. And so many times I see people with OCD being concerned in a perfectionistic way about making, quote, the wrong decision, or feeling like there's only one right decision to be made in the situation. Sometimes life is about praying and waiting for that peace of God to steer us in the right direction. And sometimes we have two okay options that are not in, violation of our spiritual nature or things that they're not moral decisions to be made. And sometimes we just need to go with one of those. And that may be really hard for you or feel scary. You may not feel like you have the confidence to make those decisions. That means there's a little bit more like inner work that needs to be done within yourself to be able to say, yeah, I can make decisions. It's okay. That's a thing that all adults do. Sometimes we are not sure of ourselves, and sometimes there's just a decision to be made, and we have to stick our neck out and make it. Sometimes it's okay, it works out well, sometimes it doesn't. And that's a part of our life. But OCD wants you to believe that somehow you can have this absolute certainty if you have an abundance of information. More information typically does not give us more certainty. It can actually lead us to more confusion, especially if we find conflicting information. So look at your past experiences with Google and see how they have turned out. Sometimes people will tell me, well, I looked this thing up and it actually relieved my fear or my concern. I found out that, it's very unlikely that this scenario would happen. Okay, if it was just something like that and then you stopped and you were able to let it go, okay. But if it's something where there's a lot of gray area and you're Googling about it more than once, or you're almost looking for new information on it, Is that contributing to your mental health and saying no to OCD? Doesn't sound like it. So I would encourage you to take some steps to be able to prevent yourself from going down that rabbit hole so often. And as you do, it may feel uncomfortable at first, but you'll notice that it gets easier and easier and easier the more that you resist that urge to Google. It truly is an urge. There is a feeling associated with it, but also you can say no to OCD and not give in to that urge to Google. So hopefully this helps some of you who are really struggling with this area in the Googling. I'll be back with you next time. And for more info, you can always contact us through hopeforanxietyandocd.com.
Hope for Anxiety and OCD is a production of By the Well Counseling. Our show is hosted by me, Carrie Bock, licensed professional counselor in Tennessee. Opinions given by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of myself or By the Well Counseling. Our original music is by Brandon Mangroom. Until next time, may you be comforted by God's great love for you.